The sky above the colony world of Villa Prime burned orange and red. Ships fell from the clouds like angry insects, and with them came death. Elder Tommen stood at the window of the council hall, watching his people run through the streets. The Velen were a peaceful species. They had soft blue skin, large gentle eyes, and hands made for growing food, not holding weapons. For 300 years, they had lived on this small world. They farmed the land, raised their children, and never hurt anyone. Now the Kricks had come. The Kricks were raiders. They moved from world to world, taking what they wanted and killing those who resisted. Their ships were black and covered with spikes. Their soldiers wore dark armor and carried weapons that could cut through stone. They had no mercy. They had no kindness. They only had hunger for what others had built. Tommen pressed his thin fingers against the glass. He could see Crick soldiers dragging families from their homes. He could hear screaming. A building in the distance exploded into flames. "The message," Tommen said without turning around. "Did the council receive it?" Behind him, a young Velen named Rolla worked at the communication panel. Her hand shook as she pressed buttons. "Yes, Elder. The Galactic Council received our distress signal 6 hours ago. And their response?" Rolla was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "They said, we are not members of the Council. They said our world is outside their protection zone. They said they cannot help us." Tommen closed his eyes. The Galactic Council was made of 12 ancient species who ruled most of the known galaxy. They called themselves civilized. They called themselves wise. But they only protected those who were useful to them. The Velen were farmers on a small world. They had nothing the Council wanted. "We will die here," Tommen said softly. "All of us." Outside, more ships landed. Thousands of Crick soldiers poured into the streets. The few Velen who tried to fight were cut down in seconds. The rest ran, but there was nowhere to run. The Crick surrounded the city. Rolla suddenly made a small sound of surprise. "Elder, wait. Our signal. Someone else received it." Tommen turned around. "Who?" "I do not know this species." Rolla studied the screen with confusion on her face. "They call themselves humans. They are from a world called Earth in the outer regions of the galaxy." "Humans?" Tommen had never heard the name. "What do they say?" Rolla read the message slowly. They say they are coming. They say to hold on. They say help is on the way." Tommen felt something he had not felt in hours. Hope. But it was a small hope, fragile like a flower in winter. "How far away are they?" "Their ship is 12 hours from our world." 12 hours. Tommen looked back at the window. The Cricks were already inside the city center. In 12 hours, there would be no one left to save. But still, someone had answered. Someone in the vast darkness of space had heard their cry and chosen to come. That was more than the great Galactic Council had done. "Tell everyone," Tommen said. "Tell them to hide. Tell them to survive. Help is coming." The word spread through the remaining communication systems. Hide. Survive. Help is coming. The Velen did not know who these humans were. They did not know if humans were strong or weak, kind or cruel. But they were coming. That was enough. In the underground tunnels beneath the city, thousands of Velen pressed together in the darkness. Mothers held their children close. Fathers stood at the tunnel entrances with farming tools, ready to fight even though they knew they could not win. The old prayed to their gods. The young trembled with fear. Above them, the Cricks continued their destruction. They burned homes and temples. They took whatever they found valuable. They laughed at the weakness of the Velen, at how easily they fell. The Cricks' commander, a tall creature named General Vorn, stood in the ruins of the council hall. He had killed many worlds. He had broken many species. The Velen were nothing special to him. Just another easy conquest. Find the survivors, Vorn ordered his soldiers. Check every building. Search every tunnel. I want this world completely under our control before dawn. His soldiers obeyed. They had done this many times before. No one ever came to help the weak. That was the way of the galaxy. The strong took, and the weak suffered. But Vorn did not know about the message. He did not know about the answer. He did not know that in the cold darkness of space, a Terran warship was moving at maximum speed toward Vela Prime. He did not know what was coming. 12 hours later, he would learn. And he would learn that some species do not ignore cries for help. Some species run toward danger, not away from it. Some species believe that protecting the innocent is worth any cost. The Velan had asked for salvation. What they were about to get were Terran Marines. The Terran warship Thunder's Fury cut through space like a knife through water. Inside the ship, alarms rang through the hallways. Soldiers ran to their stations. The mood was tense but focused. In the briefing room, Sergeant Kim Jun stood before his squad. He was a tall man with short black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. A long scar ran down his left cheek, a gift from a fight he had won 3 years ago. He was 32 years old and had been a Marine for 10 of those years. "Listen up," Jun said. His voice was calm but firm. Vela Prime, small colony world. Population about 50,000. Species called the Volan. They are farmers. Peaceful. No military. No weapons. He pressed a button and images appeared on the screen behind him. Blue-skinned aliens with gentle faces. Simple homes. Green fields of crops. 12 hours ago, they were attacked by Krix raiders. Estimate 3,000 enemy soldiers on the ground. Heavy weapons. Armored vehicles. The Velan have been asking the Galactic Council for help. Private Park Mina raised her hand. She was the youngest in the squad, only 23, with quick eyes and a quicker mind. And the Council said no? The Council said it is not their problem, Jun replied. The Velan members. They are outside the protection zone. The Council does not care. Corporal Li Tay made a sound of disgust. He was a big man with thick arms and a shaved head. Same as always. Those Council species only protect their own kind. Everyone else can burn. That is why we are going, Jun said. Terran Command received a distress signal. High Command has authorized intervention. Our mission is simple. Land on Vela Prime. Engage the Krix. Protect the civilians. Drive the enemy off the planet. Specialist Yun Sora leaned forward in her seat. She was the squad's medic, a woman with soft features that hid a core of steel. How many Marines are they sending? 1 company. 200 soldiers. 4 dropships. Air support from the Thunder's Fury. Tay laughed, but there was no humor in it. 200 against 3,000? Those are not good numbers, Sergeant. Jun smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that made enemies nervous. The Krix have never fought Terran Marines, Corporal. They do not know what we can do. That is our advantage. Private Han Day was cleaning his rifle in the corner. He was quiet, always quiet, but he was the best shot in the squad. What about the Council? They will not be happy about us getting involved. The Council sent us a warning, Jun admitted. They said humans should not interfere in galactic matters. They said there would be consequences if we act. And our response? Mine asked. Jun's smile grew wider. High Command told them that Terran Marines do not abandon people in need. The Council can send their complaints to our guns. The squad laughed at that. It was a Marine's laugh, rough and ready for trouble. Sora shook her head, but she was smiling too. We are going to make a lot of enemies today. We already have plenty of enemies, Jun said. A few more will not make a difference. What matters is that 50,000 people are dying on Vela Prime right now. They called for help, and we are the only ones who answered. That means we go. That means we fight. That means we win." He looked at each member of his squad. Mina, young but brave. Tay, strong and loyal. Sora, gentle but unbreakable. Day, silent and deadly. These were his people, his family. "Gear up," June ordered. We hit atmosphere in 2 hours. The squad moved. They checked their weapons, sealed their armor, tested their systems. Each Marine carried enough firepower to level a building. Their armor could stop most weapons and kept them alive in almost any environment. They were trained for years before they could call themselves Marines. They had fought in battles across a dozen worlds. The Krix thought they were dealing with another weak species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In her seat, Mina loaded extra ammunition into her pack. "Sergeant, I have a question. Speak. Why do we do this?" "The Velen are strangers. They are not human. They cannot pay us or help us. Why do we risk our lives for them?" June was silent for a moment. Then he sat down next to her. "When I was a boy," he said, "my grandmother told me a story. Our village was attacked by bandits. No one came to help. No one cared. But one stranger, a man from far away, arrived and stood against the bandits. He saved our village. He did not know us. We could not pay him. But he fought anyway." He looked at Mina with serious eyes. "That stranger became a hero in our village. My grandmother said that the measure of a person is not how they treat their friends. It is how they treat strangers in need. We are Terran Marines. The galaxy looks at us and sees barbarians, sees soldiers, sees violence. But we know who we really are. We are the strangers who show up when no one else will." Mina nodded slowly. "So we fight for people who cannot fight for themselves." "Always," June said. "That is what makes us human." The Thunder's fury dropped down at faster-than-light travel above Vela Prime. Below, the planet looked peaceful from space, all green and blue. But sensors showed the fires, the destruction, the enemy ships. The dropships launched. The Marines were coming. The dropship shook as it entered the atmosphere. Red flames licked past the windows. Inside, the Marines sat in 2 rows, locked into their seats. Their faces were calm. Their hands rested on their weapons. They had done this before. Sergeant June watched the screen in front of him. It showed the landing zone, a field just outside the main city. Krix soldiers were already moving toward them. Enemy ships tried to intercept the dropships, but the Thunder's fury above was handling them with precise strikes. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot announced over the radio. "Check your gear," June ordered. First squad secures the landing zone. Second squad moves toward the civilian tunnels. Third squad provides cover fire. Fourth squad stays mobile and hits enemy positions. The dropship hit the ground hard. The back door dropped open. Sunlight poured in, along with the sound of distant explosions and screaming. "Move!" June shouted. The Marines poured out of the dropship like water from a broken dam. Their boots hit the dirt, and immediately they spread out into formation. Across the field, Krix soldiers opened fire. The first shots missed. The Krix were confused. They had never seen these strange armored creatures before. They did not know their weaknesses or their tactics. But the Marines knew everything about them. "Contact front?" Tay yelled, dropping to one knee and firing his heavy rifle. The shots punched through Krix armor like paper. 3 enemy soldiers fell before they could react. Mina moved to the left, her rifle barking in short bursts. She was fast and low, using every piece of cover she could find. "Moving to flank," she called out. They said nothing. He did not need to. His rifle cracked once, twice, 3 times. Each shot found its target. A Krix officer fell. Then another. Then the soldier operating their heavy weapon. Without their leaders, the Krix squad fell into confusion. June was in the center of the action, directing his squad with hand signals and short commands. His own weapon added to the wall of fire that was pushing the enemy back. In 3 minutes, the landing zone was secure. 40 Krix soldiers lay dead. The Marines had not lost a single person. "Push forward," June ordered. "Keep moving. Do not give them time to organize." The other dropships landed behind them. More Marines joined the advance. They moved like a single creature, each soldier knowing exactly where to be and what to do. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. In the underground tunnels, the Velen heard the sounds of battle. Elder Toman pressed his ear against the ceiling, trying to understand what was happening above. "More fighting," whispered Rolla beside him. "But it sounds different. Closer. Louder." A young Velan child held on to his mother, trembling. "Are the Krix coming for us?" Before anyone could answer, there was a thundering sound. Something broke through the tunnel entrance. Dust and light poured in. The Velen screamed and pushed back, expecting the black armor of Krix soldiers. Instead, a figure in different armor stepped through. This armor was dark green and covered with strange symbols. A human face looked out from behind a clear visor. It was a woman with kind eyes. "Do not be afraid," she said. Her translator turned her words into the Velen language. "We are Terran Marines. We are here to help." Sora moved slowly, showing her empty hands. Behind her, Mina and 2 other Marines stood guard at the entrance. "Medic," Sora said, pointing to herself. "I am a healer. Is anyone hurt?" The Velen stared at her. They had never seen a human before. These creatures were strange to them. They stood on 2 legs like the Velan, but they were taller, more solid, and they moved with a purpose that seemed almost frightening. Toman stepped forward. His old legs shook, but his voice was steady. "You are the ones who answered our call?" "Yes," Sora said. "We came as fast as we could." "I'm sorry it took so long. You came." Toman felt tears forming in his large eyes. "The Council ignored us. The galaxy abandoned us. But you came." "That is what we do," Sora said simply. "Now please, let me help your wounded." The Velen parted, revealing the injured. There were many. Burns, cuts, broken bones. Sora got to work immediately, her medical kit open on the ground. She moved with speed and skill, treating wounds that would have killed Velen healers' patients. Above ground, the battle continued. The Krix were fighting back harder now. They had called for reinforcements. Enemy soldiers poured into the city from all directions. June took cover behind a ruined wall, reloading his rifle. Beside him, Tay was breathing hard but still fighting. "They have numbers," Tay said. "A lot of numbers." "Numbers do not win wars," June replied. "Will does." He activated his radio. "All squads, hold your positions. We control the center of the city. They have to come to us. Make them pay for every step." The Marines dug in. They set up defensive positions in buildings and behind barriers. They created overlapping fields of fire that turned every street into a death trap. When the Krix charged, they found walls of bullets waiting for them. Wave after wave of enemy soldiers fell. The ground became covered with bodies. Still the Krix came, because their commanders ordered them to. Still the Marines held, because that was what Marines did. Hours passed. The sun began to set over Vale Prime. The city burned in places, but the center was secure. The tunnels where the Velen hid were protected. In the fading light, General Vorn watched from a distant hill. His face showed confusion and rage. He had never seen anything like this. These strange armored creatures fought like demons. They did not run. They did not surrender. They just kept fighting. What are they? Vorn demanded. One of his officers checked the intelligence reports. They call themselves humans, General. A young species from the outer regions. The reports say they are primitive and weak. Primitive? Vorn stared at the battlefield where hundreds of his soldiers lay dead. Weak? Those reports are wrong. Those reports are very, very wrong. Dawn came to Vela Prime like a promise. The fighting had continued through the night, but now there was a pause. Both sides were tired. The Marines had held their ground. The Krix had lost many soldiers, but still surrounded the city. In a small building near the tunnel entrance, Sergeant June allowed his squad to rest. They took turns sleeping in shifts, always with someone watching. The Marines were exhausted but unbroken. Mina sat near a window, watching the smoky streets outside. Her armor was covered with dust and marks from enemy fire. She was young, but after one night of battle, she felt much older. A soft sound made her turn. A Velan child was standing in the doorway, looking at her with wide eyes. The child was small, no taller than her waist, with pale blue skin and trembling hands. Mina removed her helmet slowly so she would not scare the child. "Hello," she said. The child did not run. Instead, it walked closer, still trembling but curious. "Are you the one fighting the bad ones?" the child asked. "Yes," Mina said. "We are. My father was killed by the bad ones." The child's voice was quiet. No tears, just a statement of fact. "My mother says you came to help us." Mina felt something twist in her chest. She knelt down to be at the child's level. "I am very sorry about your father. We are doing everything we can to stop the bad ones." "Are you strong?" "I do not know if we are strong," Mina answered honestly. "But we do not give up, no matter what." The child thought about this for a moment. Then, very slowly, it reached out and touched Mina's armored hand. "Thank you for coming." Mina watched the child walk back toward the tunnels. Something inside her hardened. Something inside her became more certain. They would win this fight. They had to. On the other side of the city, June was in communication with the Thunder's fury above. Captain Yun from the ship appeared on his small screen. "Sergeant, we have received a message from the Galactic Council," the captain said. His face showed annoyance. "They demand that we stop our operation immediately. They say we are violating galactic law by interfering in non-member territory." "Our response?" June asked. "High Command says to continue the mission. They will deal with the Council later." June smiled slightly. "Understood, Captain. Anything else?" "Yes, we have detected Krix reinforcements heading toward the planet. Another 2,000 soldiers. They will arrive in 6 hours." The smile faded from June's face. 2,000 more enemies. Their current forces were already stretched thin. With reinforcements, the Krix would have overwhelming numbers. "Can you intercept them in space?" June asked. "Negative. Their transport ships have heavy escorts. We cannot engage them without taking serious damage." June thought for a moment. "Then we need to end this before they arrive." "What is the status of the Krix command center?" "It is located on a hill 2 kilometers east of the city. Heavy defenses. Approximately 500 soldiers guarding it. General Vaughn is there. If we cut off the head, the body will fall," June said. "We take out Vaughn and the command center. Without leadership, the Krix on the ground will become confused. We can break them before reinforcements arrive." "That is a very dangerous plan, Sergeant." "All plans are dangerous. This one might actually work." Captain Yun nodded slowly. "You have authorization." "Good luck, Sergeant." June ended the call and gathered his squad. He explained the situation quickly and simply. The reinforcements, the command center, the need to strike fast and hard. This is a volunteer mission, June said. I will not order anyone to come. It is almost certainly a one-way trip. Tay laughed and checked his weapon. Sergeant, when have any of us ever volunteered to stay behind? He is right, Sora said. We go together or not at all. Tay simply nodded, already loading extra ammunition. Mina stepped forward. I saw a child today. She lost her father. She thanked us for coming. We cannot let her down. June looked at his squad with pride. These were the finest soldiers he had ever known. Then we move in 1 hour. Rest while you can. As the squad prepared, Elder Toman approached June. The old Velen moved slowly, but there was strength in his eyes. I have been told of your plan, Toman said. You are going to attack their leader. Yes, it is very dangerous. Yes. Toman was quiet for a moment. Why? Why do you do this? Your people are young in this galaxy. You have nothing to gain by helping us. The Council will punish you. Other species will see you as troublemakers. You lose much and gain little. June considered the question. It was a fair question. Many humans had asked the same thing. There is a saying on Earth, June said finally. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. We are not perfect. We have our own problems. But when we see someone suffering, when we hear someone calling for help, we cannot just walk away. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then, June said. Because that is when it matters most. Anyone can help when it is easy. True goodness is helping when it is hard. When it hurts. When you might lose everything. Toman reached out and took June's hand. The Velen's grip was soft and cool. Then let me say what my people cannot. Thank you. Whatever happens next, thank you. You have shown us that there is still kindness in this cold universe. June squeezed the old Velen's hand gently. We will end this. I promise you. 1 hour later, the attack began. The assault on the Krix command center began at sunset. June led his squad through the destroyed parts of the city, moving fast and silent. Behind them, the other Marine squads created distractions, drawing enemy attention away from the main strike team. The command center sat on a hill surrounded by walls and guard towers. Krix soldiers patrolled everywhere. Searchlights cut through the growing darkness. It looked impossible to attack, but Marines specialized in the impossible. Day, June whispered. The towers first. Day raised his rifle. In the dim light, his eyes were calm and focused. 3 shots. 3 guards fell from the towers before they could raise an alarm. Move, June ordered. The squad ran forward. Tay was first to reach the wall. He planted explosives at the base while the others provided cover. A countdown. A blast. A hole appeared in the wall. They poured through into chaos. Krix soldiers ran in all directions, confused by the sudden attack. Marines cut them down with precise fire. No wasted shots. No hesitation. Mina fought beside her sergeant, her rifle never stopping. She thought of the child who had lost her father. She thought of all the Velen hiding in the tunnels. Every enemy she killed was one less threat to them. Sora stayed behind the main fighters, treating wounds whenever someone got hit. A Marine named Hyan took a shot to the arm. Sora patched him up in seconds, and he was back in the fight. They pushed deeper into the compound. The fighting got harder. The Krix knew what they were protecting. General Vaughn was somewhere inside, and without him, their whole army would collapse. Command building ahead, Tay shouted. Heavy resistance. The entrance was blocked by Krix soldiers in heavy armor. They had set up a defensive position with heavy weapons. Bullets flew in both directions. "We cannot break through," Mina yelled. "There are too many." June looked around. They were running out of time. The reinforcements would arrive in hours. They needed to end this now. "Tay," June said, "you still have explosives?" "Some. Then we go through the wall." They moved to the side of the building. While the Cricks focused on defending the entrance, Tay placed his remaining explosives on the wall. Another countdown. Another blast. The squad rushed through the smoke and dust. They were inside the command building. Crick soldiers appeared from every corner. Close fighting. Brutal fighting. Tay switched to his pistol and knife. Mina used the stock of her rifle as a club. Tay simply used his fists. "Upstairs," June shouted. "Vorn is upstairs." They fought their way up, step by step. Marines fell. Hyan went down with a shot to his leg. Another Marine named Jin took a hit to his chest. Sora did what she could, but they were losing people. Finally, they reached the top floor. A single door stood between them and General Vaughn. Tay kicked it open. The room was large and filled with screens showing the battle across the city. In the center stood General Vaughn, tall and covered in battle scars. Two elite guards stood beside him. The guards raised their weapons. June was faster. 2 shots, 2 kills. Now it was just Vaughn. The general looked at the humans with something like respect. "You are the ones who have caused me so much trouble," he said. "I have killed many species, broken many worlds. Never have I faced enemies like you." "Then you should have stayed away from Vela Prime," June replied. "Perhaps." Vaughn pulled out a blade, long and curved. "But I do not surrender. I do not beg. If I die today, I die fighting. So be it." What followed was short and violent. Vaughn was fast and strong, his blade cutting through the air with deadly skill. But June had trained for years in close combat. He had faced bigger enemies and won. The fight ended with June's knife buried in Vaughn's chest. The general fell to his knees, then collapsed. June stood over the body, breathing hard. "It is done." Outside, the effect was immediate. Without their general, the Cricks commanders did not know what to do. Orders stopped coming. Soldiers began to retreat. The Marine forces pushed forward, driving the confused enemy back. By the time the Cricks reinforcements arrived in orbit, there was nothing left to reinforce. The surviving Crick soldiers had fled in their ships. Vela Prime was free. 3 days later, the Velen held a ceremony in the ruins of their city. Thousands of survivors gathered in the central square. They had lost much, but they had survived. Elder Tommen stood before the crowd, with Sergeant June and the remaining Marines beside him. "We called for help," Tommen said, his voice carrying across the square. "The great powers of this galaxy ignored us. But one species answered. They came from across the stars. They fought beside us. They bled for us. Many of them died for us." He turned to face June. "You asked for nothing in return. You expected no reward. You simply came because we needed you. That is something this galaxy has not seen in a very long time." June stepped forward. His armor was damaged and dirty. His face showed exhaustion, but his eyes were bright. "We did what anyone should do," June said. "We helped those who could not help themselves. We hope that when others see what happened here, they will remember that kindness is not weakness. That mercy is not foolishness. That standing up for strangers is what makes any species truly civilized." Across the galaxy, the story spread. The young species called humans had challenged the Cricks raiders. They had protected a world that was not their own. They had defied the Galactic Council and won. Some species were angry. Some were confused. But many others began to look at humanity with new eyes. Perhaps these strange creatures from Earth were more than barbarians. Perhaps they were something the galaxy needed. On Vela Prime, the survivors began to rebuild. But they never forgot. Every year, they celebrated the day the Marines came. Every child learned the story. They had wanted salvation. What they got were Terran Marines. And in the end, it was the same thing.